Okay, so here's the thing. We tend to go down the rabbit hole into our AI conversations, and they're fun and we all learn a lot. But I did want to make sure that we covered a little bit of just the mechanics and sort of some of the fundamental pillars of the grant research, the grant reporting, the grant writing. So we're going to do a little bit of that with some top tips. But then we're going to have Danny talk us through some areas where he feels like our work can be incredibly enhanced. So we're going to just, some of this you may know, it may be standard, it may be old hat for you, but hopefully when we bring in the AI pieces, you're going to feel like, you get some nuggets out of this and it's a little more enriched. Does that sound good?
Definitely.
All right, great. Okay, so let me start here. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Danny, do you have anything you want to ask in the meantime?
I'd love to see what people are doing or struggling with or anything related to this that we can actually kind of fine tune the conversation to you.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So who wants to volunteer with something that they may be struggling with?
Or curious about.
When it comes to propose, anything, really. Yeah. What are you struggling with?
This is a very shy group, I guess.
Okay,
I'm a new. Basically, I'm a new board member for my Kiwanis Club, so I'm here to learn. Definitely, we're always searching for funding, additional sources of funding. AI is new to me, but I've written. I nominated somebody via AI, and it came out great. So AI, I love AI. I just adore it. But I'm here to learn from you, and hopefully during the course of this webinar, I'll be able to come up with some other questions, basically.
Great. Excellent. Thank you, Eduardo. Vicky, you had something.
I do, and I'm sorry I can't get on camera. My grandchildren came to visit and brought with them this lovely bug. So God bless the grandkids.
Sorry about that.
So our organization offers scholarships, to high school kids that are then going to be going to college. And part of it is an essay with the application. And we didn't put anything on the application about, please use your own words. We prefer not to see AI. And out of the 100 and whatever that we received, I would say more than 3/4 of them, it was so obvious because furthermore, and in conclusion, and therefore, and the commas in the wrong places. I mean, it just screams that it was not their own wording. And I'm not quite sure. We are changing, obviously, our application to say we prefer to hear your own words. And I know that some of it is because many of these children come from third world countries. Their English is not their second language, third, it could be their fourth language, right? I'm not quite sure how to deal with that and get the positive response that we're looking for.
My quick suggestion, Vicky, would be video interviews, right? So just without even using AI, you could just have them, create simple, interview questions and videos. And there are some pretty cool new video AI interview platforms out there for job seekers or job interviews, and you can just kind of customize that for something you want.
Are we able to do that without them? Are we able to do that without them putting a picture on it?
Yeah, I mean, you could find ways around it. I mean, let's ask AI. What ideas there are, right? Like Typeform, the survey, the company that you can actually create like surveys with or forms with. They have a beautiful program called a Video Ask, and you can it's like you can make a video of you and you just record the 5 or 10 questions you want, and it looks like a video conversation back and forth. Super easy. You get an Excel or CSV file with the answers, and you can use AI
real time.
Yeah, in real time.
They have to answer right there, real time.
Yeah,
that sounds fabulous. I'll look. Into
so there's definitely some really good solutions out there to kind of balance things out.
Thank you. I will look into that.
Yeah.
Jackie, do you have your hand up, Jackie?
I do. Buenas tardes, everyone. Jackie from Sacramento here. I worked in nonprofits for 20 years before I became a consultant, and I'm now working in the same field that I left. And there is a strong bias against AI, especially within some of the smaller nonprofits. Not so much with funders. I'm seeing more of an openness to AI. But so my question and my challenge is how to encourage nonprofits to use AI in order to streamline their operations so that they can focus on the actual work with their communities rather than hiring a full-time person to do all of this grant management work that can actually be handled by AI. And so that's why.
The first thing that comes to mind is change is scary sometimes, right? And a lot of these things, depending on the population, depending on the language, depending on the age, seems a bit overwhelming. The way I really like to help people out is just by having them use it for personal things in the beginning, right? So now with the new iPhone version or the Android version on the phone where you can talk to it, it's like Siri, right? It's like Alexa, it's like Siri. So like those have been out for a little bit. They're just a little bit smarter, a little bit more fine-tuned to help you with individual things. And so I may just, pop up the phone or just show them live and just ask it a question and just kind of start the interaction back and forth. And to me, it's all about, levels of comfort or levels of uncomfort. Right. And it's just about how do you get to that place of passing that threshold in which what was uncomfortable now becomes just commonplace and something that's there. But then I also throw something kind of interesting at nonprofits and I say, look, we really don't know what the future is going to look like, right? Are they going to be driverless cars? Or is Uber going to, just change everything and you're going to have all these people unemployed or underemployed more than anything else, right? Are truck drivers going to be struggling? Are jobs going to be taken away? And I kind of always put the onus back and say, when that happens, if it happens, because it will happen in some capacity, especially Latin America, especially the other countries that struggle with this, when I say it's going to fall on the shoulders of nonprofits to deal with these problems in many ways. It's either going to be, a government system where they're paying you some kind of guaranteed income, which is going to be a challenge to kind of execute. And so I kind of challenge nonprofits to say, when this falls on you and your shoulders, because it will, shouldn't you be prepared for that? And so I hate to use kind of fear as a motivator in many ways, but it's more of that, you want to be the best nonprofit that you can be. And so it begins with this. And also, how do you kind of bring the younger generation of what you're doing? So can you get younger volunteers to help you, ask these questions, do social media, create content in easier ways? Right. And so, I kind of build to, so it's comfort. I always look at the level of comfort. How can I get them to feel comfortable in trying it out for themselves? A recipe. How about that? Can you give me a recipe for un arroz con pollo? Something that's going to be like, that you can't kind of figure out, get comfortable, and then kind of be like, and you know what? Now that you see this, now that you see the potential, can you imagine what's really going to happen once this really takes off? And then what role does your org want to play? And how can you best prepare for it? So I kind of present, without getting too scary, that kind of picture. And most people that I talk to are like, oh, that makes total sense.
Yeah. I kind of see it as the shift between when folks were starting to write code and those of us who are older were like, well, you'll never use that anywhere. And now it's like, what young person doesn't know how to write code? It's just kind of become one generation.
And even those people are probably not going to be doing anything now because the AI is writing the code.
And they probably won't be doing it. Right. So I kind of see it as the same direction. And so that's why I'm here. I want to have that conversation. I want to hear.
And here's the great thing. Anything that you ask me, you can really just ask AI in many ways, right? And so it just kind of comes down to starting with an organization and just putting the voice on and just say, hey, this is who this person is. I'm sitting here with so-and-so. This is their organization. Can you give them a couple of ideas, very low level, very beginner, on what they can do to get started on this?
Great. Thank you, Danny. We had another question from Sarah. Can AI help prepare budgets?
Yeah, of course. I mean, AI really comes down to its analytical, its logic ability, right? So from anything, I mean, you really want to kind of create here. Ideally, what you really want to focus on is uploading organizational information and kind of starting with, either your 990s, things that you've done in the past, and then kind of help it understand where you want to get to and just give it ideas on where your budget wants to be. Now with the new chat, we'll talk about just ChatGPT really quick being free. The 4 of the ChatGPT 4 Omni, you could just upload a sample budget. Ask it, this is who my organization is. You can give it your website, Sarah. You can say, go to howfoundation.org. analyze who we are. If you have a 990, if you have your annual report, if you have sample budgets, just feed it and just say, this is what we're trying to go after. We really want to go to that, larger, mid 6-figure grant. What's it going to take for us to get there? Can you give me a 3-year plan to understand it? And then just kind of play around with it. A lot of it's trial and error, but you're going to get results back. And then it's all about you fine-tuning the results until you're happy with it.
Great. Okay, so we're going to jump in.
Cool.
And what we're going to do is we're going to, now again, when I'm screen sharing, and this is why I don't put it in presentation mode, because it's even worse, then I really can't see anything. I can't see all of you. So please stop me or jump in. But what we want to do is tackle each of the areas that we need to address when it comes to our grants management and figure out how we're going to do it better. So we know that the planning has to happen. So what's our plan for the research? Well, the first thing I would do is go into ChatGPT, and I use ChatGPT the most. I've tried Gemini, didn't care for it that much. I think it's a personal thing. So whatever floats your boat, whatever feels good. But I go into ChatGPT and I say, how do I plan out the research that I need to be doing for the course of this year, or my grant research, or, and you can give it the spin, whatever spin you'd like to, but how do I plan it? How do I put together? How do I set myself up? Give me a spreadsheet of that. I was doing something yesterday and I got this table, which was great. And then I tried to copy and paste the table and the formatting was all messed up. And I asked for a spreadsheet. Actually, what I said was, may I have a CSV file of that? Well, you can copy the code. I said, okay, can I get a spreadsheet? Because I knew I'd done it before. And sure enough, I got a spreadsheet. Literally a spreadsheet that I clicked on and it downloaded, and there was my spreadsheet. So right out of ChatGPT. So the same with the preparation of LOIs and proposals. We're planning all this out, we're scheduling it out, we're putting it in a spreadsheet or some kind of tool that you want to use. And the same with the applications and the funding. So just a reminder, Danny, that since I can't see you, please just cut in whenever you can.
Great.
So the difference between great research and poor research, it's about the organization. How are you organizing yourself? What are you using? So do you have a spreadsheet? Do you have some kind of tracking mechanism? Have you organized your research by the programs that you're looking for funding for, or the categories? Maybe it's for operating funds, but maybe it's for your specific programs. How much are you looking for? When do you need the funds by? Because that will dictate some of these deadlines and some of the things you can go after. Figuring out what are the tasks. Okay, so we're going to do research. Who's the best person to do it? Who's going to go and take that research maybe and do a deep dive into the websites, or find out if there's an eligibility quiz on their website? Delegate that. So figuring out, how are we even going to approach this? What's my timeline? What am I planning to do? And if I think about that too, is there a tool maybe that I could set all of this out in, right? So maybe Asana would work for you, where you can put this in as a project and you've got all the different sections of the project with subtasks. And you could even have some dependencies, because you could say, okay, well, we have, let me get into dependencies in a minute. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but let's think about the approach. So if we're looking at going after grants, we're going to do our research. We always want to use more than one database. Foundation Directory is the gold standard. I love it. I think it's great, but they do take a very long time to update their information. So having a second one as a backup, like GrantStation or Grant Tracker, or I don't know if anyone's used Instrumental. If you have, please put it in the chat, because I'd love to hear from you. But you definitely want to use more than one database to kind of compare and contrast. So if you've got gold standard Foundation Directory that maybe you were able to access at a university or at a public library, or you've purchased a subscription, then use a different one like GrantStation or Grant Tracker. GrantStation you can get through TechSoup, really discounted, so that's worth it. And you really want to do your research every 12 to 18 months at a minimum. So even if you just did it a year ago, do it again, because things change. Also, funders have funds that are released periodically for special purposes. And those will come out and maybe only have 6 months notice. You may, maybe a quarterly release of funding that's not going to show up in Foundation Directory. And be thinking about how you're going to do this. Do you want to sit down and just get it all done in a 4-hour stretch on a Saturday afternoon? Or are you thinking, you know what, I'm going to chip away. Let me get 2 under my belt and figure out what the approach is going to be with those, submit those LOIs or proposals, get them in motion, and then I'll work on the next ones. I tend to do everything at once, but that's because I know I'm not going to come back to it. I just, you get distracted. I know myself. I'd rather get it all knocked out at once and then figure out what the strategy is going to be. And then when we think about who's going to handle the research, that's really important. Have they been trained? Do they know anything about grants in your area? It really does help to have some knowledge of the local landscape in terms of funding. So I would say well-meaning volunteers, yes, if they have some sort of experience in this and they've been trained. Otherwise, I would recommend someone who's in development or a board member who maybe has some experience with grants. And I wanted to mention this, this great training video on Candid that teaches you, it's just a 1-hour training to use Foundation Directory. It is excellent, highly recommend. So if you have a chance, check that out. Really, really good. And then when we're looking at the grants themselves, you really do have to be selective. Don't think that, well, they fund, education, adult education. Well, we're children's education. It's education. Surely they'll support us. So you really do need to be very discerning. And, when I go through and I do grant research, I mean, you would think out of a directory like Foundation Directory that you would find thousands. My goal is typically to find about 20 to 30 that I know I can tackle for a year. That's about my sweet spot, because that means I've gotten the best of the best that are a really good fit. I've let go of the ones that I really, really, really thought could be a good fit, but they're just actually not. I'm just trying to force, a square peg into a round hole. But the other thing is you do have a responsibility to do some good research, because if an organization has a particular area of focus, even a geographic region, but you come across a couple of grants or one grant that they gave to an organization just like yours in the same geographic region, but you go to their funding focus areas or their priorities, and it doesn't list the things that you do or that your organization does. It's completely different. Maybe it's healthcare and you're in education, right? It's very possible that that organization has discretionary funding available to it for its board members or for its staff, and that they have dispersed funds that were really discretionary. So the board member, maybe they give their board members the ability to give funding to a certain number of nonprofits a year, and that they happen to give funding to education or to a religious entity or to, who knows, some sort of scientific or research or environmental entity. It doesn't mean that that organization funds those causes. You do need to follow. So it's tricky, right? It's tricky. And sometimes we don't want to let go of that. We're like, but they gave it to one of them, 2 years ago, surely they'll support mine. So, and then once you have some really good research, you want to make sure that you're sharing your findings, because you just don't know who on your board knows these foundations and their trustees, or your donors, or advisors to the organizations, consultants. I mean, you just never know who has some kind of connection. Even Nonprofits First here in Palm Beach County, or AFP, or your community foundation. So this is the time when you really need to kind of explore and figure out what's the lay of the land, who may know someone in this particular foundation.
Yeah, if I can add one thing to that, Kirsten, really quick too. And I always think about the donor advice funds and like the community foundations, in the aspect of, grant and research goes both ways. It's not just looking online, it's also having conversations with key people, right? And sometimes, like you said, you might apply for something that, may fit a certain category, but that, program officer might be like, you know what, I know this particular donor that actually has some money left over for something like this, and it's not on the website, it's not going to be anywhere here, especially like the international ones, right? The ones that are doing something, they want to help out, a special project overseas. It goes both ways. Like if you ask the right questions and you get to know people, you might get at least pointed in the right direction, or at least told, you know what, definitely don't apply. We don't have
That's
anything
right.
for you, but at least you learn. Yeah.
And I will say I had this experience. In fact, I see some Bounty and Soul folks on the call, which is so exciting to me. Paula, and I saw somebody else, and I'm just beyond excited to see Bounty and Soul on here. So Bounty and Soul is in North Carolina, and when I was doing a lot of work for Bounty and Soul very early on, and I called a funder to ask them if they would be interested in supporting the organization. And they said, well, it's just really not such a great fit for us. It's just not what we do. And I said, okay, well, do you know any other foundation that might be interested? And they gave me the names of 2 other foundations. They said, well, as a matter of fact, yeah, there are 2 others that we think could be a good fit for you. So why don't you give them a try? I mean, you just never know, right? So that's to Denny's point. I mean, it is up to us to do our homework and do make our effort to connect the dots as well and connect with them. So I would say on that vein as well, having your a board member or your chair do some outreach is a great next step. I don't mean stalking like tracking. I just mean sort of following up on their behavior.
Yeah.
Do they go to events? Do they go to conferences? Do they go to galas? Is an opportunity for you to invite them to something? Is that the kind of thing they do? Some people do, some people don't. Some program officers are very much in their office. Some program officers are very much out and about. Some of them will call out of the blue and say, we'd like to stop by and meet your organization. Can we come tomorrow morning? And it could be totally out of the blue. Some of them really like no contact, and they have no phone number and no email address on their website or on foundation directory.
Right.
So, but you really want to try and figure out what's their culture, how do they want to be approached, and the goal is to build this relationship where there's a rapport or an understanding of who you are, and you'd like to be invited to be considered. And I do just want to mention that there is an organization here in Palm Beach County that I do some advising for, and they really follow up on everything I suggest and I recommend that I feel is a good fit. And it's impressive to me because they're taking this very, very active role to find out who's in the community, but they realize that they can't do it on their own, that it's simply impossible for them to know everything that organizations are doing in this area. And so they are expanding their network through consultants and through people that they know and other funders. They all talk to each other. So it's really a good thing to keep in mind. You just never know when something could come out of the blue, but you also want to make sure that you're visible, you're approachable, you can be found, you can be, identified, there's information, you have your GuideStar profile, it's nice and complete, and you have lots of badges on there. And, these are the things that make you obviously easier for them to even identify and to find. What do you have to add to that, Danny?
Nothing. I wanted to add, yes to everything. There's a couple of questions on the chat that I wanted to kind of just bring up really quick. Veronica Simpkins asked about how a donor advised fund works. And so I kind of always sometimes say words and acronyms, and I want to make sure we all know what it means. So a donor advised fund, for those that don't know, is a special fund at a foundation, like a community foundation mostly, or many brokerages like Fidelity Charitable, Schwab Charitable, Vanguard Charitable. And what you do is the donor or someone actually donates money to the fund. They get the tax deduction on the spot because they're a nonprofit, but the funds actually sit in a specialized account, and the donor has the right to then further say, you know what, I actually, out of my $10,000 donation, let's give 500, let's make it 1,000 to Lex support because those ladies are amazing, right? And then the organization will process it, will analyze it, their board will approve, and then they will then send the funds to the end organization. And so the downside of it is that many people put a lot of money into it, or they sell businesses, or they have different assets, and then it kind of grows, but it doesn't necessarily have to go all out. And so you have billions and billions of dollars tied up in donor advised funds. So it's a tricky from a nonprofit standpoint. What happens is they don't really have grants that you can apply for, but if you know the donor, if you know the person that has a donor advised fund, you kind of talk to them and say, hey, would you, gift from your donor advised fund to me. So what's happening now really quick is that you have, because of tax situations where the minimum deduction for taxes is now like $24,000 for married couples. You have people that actually only give donations every couple of years, but it's larger amounts to get a bigger tax benefit. Because if I were to donate $20,000 this year, my $24,000 in itemized deductions is not going to be enough. And so it's kind of tricky, but you have people that have very large donor advised funds. And so it's just a little bit trickier getting to that individual person, because the foundation itself, let's just say, is not keen on just opening the faucet to letting the money out, because they actually get paid on the amount of assets that they manage for that donor. Hope that explains it. Well
said. Yeah, it's a sore spot for me, to be honest, because and for Danny too. I mean, we just feel like that those funds are meant to be out in the community. They're not meant to be sitting in a foundation. And it's a shame, because there is no mechanism to be introduced to donor advised fund holders. And if anything, there's a little bit of a barrier. So it's really up to you to put it on your website and just say, are you a donor advised? Do you have a donor advised fund? Do you have a family foundation? Does your company offer employer matched giving? I mean, it's up to you. Yes, we accept stocks. Yes, we accept your gift of, a vehicle or whatever it may be. I mean, it's really up to us to make sure that we are constantly reminding our donors that those are available. So back to, let's see. Okay, so we talked about this. We talked about the local funder. And if there are any other questions, please go ahead and let us know. Okay, so on preparation of an LOI and a proposal, I have done a lot of work with this. And what I have found is that working in the specific sections works the best. So if you try and create one big long document, it just doesn't seem to work as well in ChatGPT. Same as when you're having questions answered or you're analyzing. And so if you have any questions about anything, if there's a section that you're a little ambiguous about, or you'd like to be able to understand it better or articulate it better, take those sections and put them into ChatGPT and ask for some insight. What would be a great way to answer this question? What is something unusual that I could mention? You could upload a link to your website and say, what is there about my organization that might resonate with this section or with this question? So be creative and just keep playing with it and keep playing with it. And then when you've created your response, I also put that through ChatGPT and I say, what do you think? What am I missing? Could this be better? Can I articulate it better? Maybe I want it slightly more professional, but not the therefores and furthermores and in conclusions that we talked about at the beginning. Maybe I really would like this to be, sound like me, like a human being. So I think that just always looking at how you are going to present something and simplifying. How can I make my life easier? What could I be using this for? What could I be missing? What do they mean by this? I mean, I remember in the early days, we're just so lucky now that we have something like ChatGPT. I just remember dealing with questions. I'm like, what are they even asking? I don't even understand what they're asking. I mean, to me, a budget was like, well, our income is this and our expenses are this. Well, they want one number. What do you mean one number? Our income is going to be this and our expenses are going to be this. It's not one number. What do you mean my operating budget? Well, now we have everything we need. We can look everything up, right? And then if we're going to use a GPT, educate it with your prior proposals or LOIs or your organization or your case for support. So you give it your own feel. You give it, the sense of your identity and your organization's identity, and don't give up. That's what I would say too. And Danny mentioned that. Just keep on plugging away at it. Just keep until you're happy. Just keep going until you're happy. Because you will get some mediocrity along the way and you're just, you can't be satisfied with that. Just keep pushing. It's like when I kept saying, but I need a CSV. And then I'd say spreadsheet and suddenly I've got the spreadsheet and it's fantastic, right? So then if we look at reporting, so what would some of the tools be that we could use for our reporting? Well, Smartsheet is incredible. and also implements AI. It allows attachments. It allows comments. It's a project management system. It has a Gantt chart, incredibly sophisticated. You could use a project management system like ClickUp or Asana or Monday, and almost all of them are implementing AI in some way or another. You definitely do want to take advantage of things like a Gantt chart, things like dependencies, right? So if you are preparing a grant proposal, but you are waiting for some material from the CFO because you need the financials or you need the budget, well, your dependency would be, okay, I'm going to assign this task, but it can't actually get started until until Joseph over here actually provides the budget for 2025. And so you've got some dependencies. And so once Joseph uploads the budget and that gets released, now that other person gets assigned their task of preparing the next step in this grant proposal process. So you have some really, really neat tools. I do want to say someone mentioned instrumental and that it's expensive, but it's good. I had played around with it very superficially, but today I did a deep dive. I think I'm in love. Who was it that said, who was it? Can you raise your hand? The person who said instrumental? I can go back and look at the chat, but oh my goodness, this tool is phenomenal. Well, here I have it.
Karen Kelly. Keel,
Oh,
sorry,
Karen
Keel.
Karen Kyle. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Karen.
Hi, sorry, I'm having trouble with my phone. I'm using Zoom on phone. So
no
yeah,
worries.
it's an excellent tool. I used it at my last job and it's exceptional. It's costly. So if you're only doing a few grants, it's not worth it. But if you really are doing multiple grants, like, I'd say more than the 20 you mentioned, it's really worth it.
And so tell us how you're using it.
I'm not using it any longer, but I was using it.
How were you using it?
Okay, so I was using it for researching. So I would find grants with it, organizing. So you would have different projects that you're working on. So maybe one grant would be for something educational, but another grant would be for something extracurricular. So you could create different project categories. You search the grants by those project categories. And then when new grants come into play, one thing that's exceptional is they update regularly. So they're updating constantly, and they'll give you suggestions based on the criteria that you set up. So you don't even have to just research. New things come in, they immediately send you an email. And then you have team members, so you can decide what you want them to know and assign them tasks and keep them informed. You can assign different tasks to different people. And and you can manage everything in it as well. So I went from the system that I had and took everything that I had for every grant. I probably had about 50 grants and put it into Instrumental. So then I never had to look anywhere else again. Every piece of information was in Instrumental. All the contacts, all the prior grants, all the amounts, what year we'd received it, how much, conversations, everything.
And there's some reporting function in there, right? I mean, I thought did I see, or is that just usage of funds? Is there any reporting in there as well?
I didn't actually use it for that, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's one-stop shop. I mean,
I was blown away.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And if you want, you can pay extra if you really need to, and link in, your accountant as well, like your CFO, so that all the financials can be done within it as well.
Fantastic. So you touched on what I love the most was that they automatically give you the weekly updates and matches for your organization. They also have a chart that shows you that foundation's openness to new grantees. So do they fund 30% of new grantees or 10% of new grantees? How much do they give to new grantees? I mean, it's phenomenal. And they really
it'll show you. Yeah, it shows you like a new grantee will get this much and a prior grantee will get that much, so that you kind of have an idea of what you should ask for.
It's wild.
Yeah, and we found that we could ask for more than we were asking. From some of our grantors, we were like, wow, we could be asking for more.
See, can you imagine money on the table just because you really just don't know? And honestly, I scour 990s a lot, right? I spend a lot of time on, but to have something like this that does it for you is amazing. What I just showed you guys, I put one project in there. Obviously you saw I didn't finish the second project, but because I wanted to flip back and forth, but they have a free trial, 14-day trial. It's literally free, completely free. I didn't even have to put a credit card in. So I suggest you guys try it and see if you like it. If you're at that level where, that would be helpful. Danny has put in the chat, givechariot.com. So tell us about that, Danny. What is that?
It's a technology tool, custom made for being able to receive donor advised funds in an easier way. And they actually just did a deal with GoFundMe now, with GoFundMe's nonprofit arm. So they can actually donate through your DAF to a GoFundMe nonprofit campaign.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
We have a super question. Would be cool to know if AI can help with determining what amount is worth the work it would require. Ding, 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 ding. Yes. Is this grant worth me putting in however many hours it's going to take me to write the proposal, write the LOI, have a site inspection, do the reporting? I love that question. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, I think my answer is anything that requires analysis, logic, math, AI is fantastic at, and it's just all about, can you feed it enough information for it to give you the right answer, right? So with like our team, one of the biggest things I always say is, just ask AI, even if you think you know everything, like, what am I missing? What don't I know? Right. So it could be one of these things by starting off by saying, well, tell me everything that goes into writing a grant for this particular foundation. How much time do you think it's going to be? And let AI give you the answers. And then you kind of build off and have, a well-rounded, entry point of how much information you want to put in there. And then just ask it, is this worth it for me for this amount of money that I'm going to ask for it? Right. Now, I also will say something, which is a kind of an intangible and kind of the goodwill aspect of it, right? So I'm a trustee at a major foundation. Sometimes, we can give a $10,000 grant, a $5,000 grant through our community programs, but we get to know organizations. And somebody might say, well, was it really worth applying for it? Well, guess what? They may turn around and get 50,000 the next year or 2 years later. And it's all about knowing somebody. So that's kind of like the hard thing where AI is going to be just cold, hard facts. But you have to always, ask it, are there intangibles, or is there goodwill? Is there something out there where an organization may be learning about me, where they're going to say, you know what, maybe not this year, but you're on the radar now. And then next year when you apply, it's like, oh, look how much I've grown in the last year. Look how many new donors. Look how many other foundations are supporting us.
That's
right. Because you might come to the point where you might only get a $5,000 grant, but if it's from a really well-known, well-respected foundation, it'll help you grow. It'll bring other dollars in because one big foundation said, hey, you know what? Those people are interesting. I've got their back.
100%.
So that's something to weigh as well, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And some of these, it also depends what stage you're in the life cycle of your organization, because maybe you are at that point where every little bit counts and you're trying to build your portfolio of funding, right? Where it won't matter how much work it is. You need to get your foot in the door with at least 1 or 2 foundations so that you can start to build more. In Palm Beach County, we know that one of the things that happens is when you apply for Impact 100, which takes a very long time, and it takes basically almost a year to go from beginning to end and get awarded the funds, but it's $100,000, it opens the door to all the other funders in Palm Beach County, because you have basically passed the rigor of the application process, the proposal process, the vetting, the site inspection, the reporting, all of that. So I think that's the other piece too, is, just sort of weighing it up. Where does this fit in the life cycle of your organization, and does it make sense? So I'd like to do show and tell now, Danny.
Yeah. What do you want to do?
As quickly as I could, so that you could please give us all of your AI tips.
What do we want to go through? It's funny because
what should we look for? What do we want to research? What do we want to, I know we blew some people away when they, was it Nicolette one time when she said, oh no, who was it that was asking about health foundations in South Florida or something? Oh, may have been, was it Howe Foundation? I can't remember, but
yeah, and it's funny
they
because
just couldn't believe it.
Started with that. Yeah. Do I have share access here? Let's see. Can I share? No, if you can give me share access, Kirsten.
Okay, you are a co-host now.
Perfect. Let's find my screen. Is the ChatGPT screen right there? Perfect.
By the way, everyone, I am going to be putting a poll up in a little bit. I'd like your topics, please. I'm running out of ideas for topics and I cannot pick these on my own. This depends on what you guys need. Okay. So I am going to put up a poll in a little bit and I'd like you guys to just let me know what topic you'd like to see for next time. Okay.
I just started playing around with this earlier, just by asking like simple questions. Like you're going to hear a lot about, oh, it's got to be the perfect prompt and you have to tell it to act like this and you got to, you know, have all these different variables. And it's like, you know what, sometimes you got to just ask it, like you're going to Google it, right? You're going to just ask it like a simple question. And I literally just asked it like these questions, like what are the top health funders in Miami? And I kind of want to show you how quickly it does it, right? So someone give me a city and we'll just change this to whatever you know you want it to be.
Okay, now we can't see any. Can everybody see anything? I can't see anything.
You're not seeing my screen?
No.
Okay, hold on. What am I doing here?
We can.
I could see it.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be my ChatGPT
So it's me.
browser.
Yeah.
And I still can't see. Isn't that interesting?
All right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to trust Danny.
Okay, cool. Very cool. You know what? Our friends from San Antonio are here. So let's say, who are the top health funders, funders for health nonprofits in San Antonio, right? And it's just a simple question. I mean, there's really nothing to it. And this is free, by the way. And you don't even have to create an account with ChatGPT. It's going to search the internet and it's going to start going through it. I mean, you know, Methodist Health is a huge organization. I think they're doing like $20-30 million a year in funding in the area, right? The San Antonio Area Foundation, things like that, right? So I know Veronica and Ashley are on, and you just look at this, like Impact San Antonio, like one of these, and it's like, there's the information. Anything in blue is going to be a website. So if you click on it, it's going to go to a website and it's going to promote the information there, right? So let's just say I wanted to follow up and say, okay, these guys are interesting. What if I said, write me an LOI for, how much do we want, Veronica? $100,000? Is that what we're going for? Grant.
100,000 sounds good.
From them. And look. Is that fast enough for you, Veronica?
You know, I'll add a question here then, because a lot of the LOIs that I'm putting out now, a lot of them, I feel like I'm trying to portray the organization in such a small one page. So best tips on how to, even giving ChatGPT as much knowledge as I can and saying, hey, simplify this, pull most impactful numbers into this LOI, just how to make sure I'm using AI to kind of help to the funders ask to really depict all we're doing.
And so I think the answer there is goes back to earlier of how much information can we feed it, right? So one is understanding the audience of who's going to read this and who we want to do there, right? And so maybe it's understanding, you know, do they give you, it's got to be less than, you know, X amount of words. It has to be, you know, less than one page or whatever it is. And then it's also understanding what's unique about your organization, the way you write. Like I personally know both of you, right? So I know your stories are amazing with what you're doing with mothers and breastfeeding and lactation in all of Texas, right? And the fact that you're both nurses. So I think it depends on highlighting the key points that are specific and special to what you do, but also trying different variations of it, right? So if I look at this and I'm like, yeah, this was okay. It wasn't really what I want to do. Just say, you know what, let's tweak this and talk more specifically about our impact in breastfeeding Hispanic mothers in the San Antonio area. Right. And then you kind of, I guess this is where I say it's the trial and error and just kind of going back and forth until you figure out what you want. The good part about having the account with ChatGPT is that in the paid accounts, you can actually start creating a memory. So it'll start memorizing things about your organization, about you, your writing style, things that you want to highlight. And then it just makes the further on questions just a lot more specific and just kind of tighter around what you want to do. But it goes back to just trial and error and fine tuning in many ways. It's like an artist, right? Until you kind of find that sweet spot of where you want to be. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And so just back to this one, I was this I can show you on this one. I started doing on I think I did it for this one as well.
I can't believe I can't see. You have no idea how frustrated I am. I'm going crazy. Seriously, I don't know what's going on.
I just asked a simple question. Like I did Health Foundation, right? I said, look at my website and help me write an LOI for a $50,000 grant. And so I want to show, like, if it doesn't know anything about you, right? I'm going to just kind of copy and paste it and pop it in there again and just to ask it to write it. And it's actually going to search the internet and it's going to go search in the web, browsing Health Foundation SF, And there's the sample LOI for what I want it to be. Right. And you look at it, it's hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Sarah, it's on the spot, right? It's what you do. It's exactly how it is there. Right. And then I can just kind of move on and be like, you know what? Now let's write a full grant proposal. And if you can see, it's going to write an executive summary. It's about a paragraph, organizational description. If I need to stop it in the way, by the way, listen, you know what? I'm just not happy about that. You know what? I think I need this to be just a lot more comprehensive. You know, maybe it's more a state grant or a federal grant or something that we're going to do it. And it's like, you know what? Each section must be 3 paragraphs long. And it'll just start. And now look. Now the executive summary, instead of being 1 paragraph, it's going to be 3 paragraphs. That's all I did. I just stopped it halfway and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I really want it to be like this. Right. So, I mean, it'll probably take a good couple, 4 or 5 minutes to go through it. Cause you know, Sarah, if you need this, I'll send you the link later. So you could just use this, but it'll kind of continue and it'll go on there. Right. And, you know, watch, I can stop it here. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just do the budget. Because that's what she wanted. Right, so 30,000 for financial assistance, 10,000 for education, 5,000 for awareness, 5,000 admin cost, total $50,000. What? You know what? How about we make it 500K grant? Now it's going to give you the budget for a $500,000 grant. And now you want to break it down, right? And you want to be like, you know what, let's do something a little bit different where it has to have more information. And it's just maybe copy and paste in many ways. I'm like, you know what, let's expand on this section. And now it's going to write just a much deeper paragraph on how the $300,000. And I haven't fed it anything, by the way. It literally just read her website. So all I'm saying is, if I gave it, you know, annual reports, other grants that it's received, successful, you know, information, anything else that I could want to look, Sarah, it even knows that it's usually 20 to 40 sessions depending on the individual's needs. Who's going to know that? Right. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but gosh, can it really just do a lot of work for you in many ways to kind of just, you know, put you into a position of kind of helping you understand that. Someone had asked about like corporate giving. So corporate giving is going to be not as different. It's just a matter of it's going to search the internet, right? And so if I want to say, okay, find me the top 10 corporate funders in South Florida for health orgs. So that's still a foundation. So Blue Cross and Blue Shield is a corporation. Miami Foundation is a community foundation. Publix is, right? Jim Moran is, Quantum is health. So it's not perfect, but it gives you some ideas, you know, on what you want to kind of focus on and just narrow down, right? So if you wanted to even identify one of these again in Community Foundation of Broward, right? And, you know, tell me their largest grants last year. So I want to get an idea of who they are, and it's just going to copy the information there, right? So it's going to search for them. It's going to find out, and that's who they gave money to last year for different causes. 400,000 to FAU, 300,000 to the Cancer Institute, you know, and it just kind of goes on from there. So all I really want to do, I don't want to go too deep into a rabbit hole. It's just sky's the limit. Like, where do you want to go from this? Do you know what I'm saying? And what am I not thinking of, right? So let's say I'm stuck and I'm like, literally just tell her like, you know, I'm stuck and don't know where to begin my grant research. And I like making mistakes, by the way, because I type fast and it's like, if it makes a mistake, it'll understand what I'm doing anyway. Mike, give me advice. I like being nice to the AI. Give me advice, please. And it tells you, it understands you, like it empathizes with you. Grant research can be overwhelming, but breaking it down into manageable steps. Right? And then what you do is you just kind of look through all of them, and I'm like, whoa, this is a lot of information. Like, let me just start one by one. And I can just go back to the first one and just be like, let's just go deeper into whatever the first one was. Right. And let me move this over here and just kind of like look through it, right? And be like, okay, what do we do? Okay, where do I even start with this? Let me just copy that directly and go into this and be like, okay, let's go deeper with this. And you could say number one, you could say whatever you want, or I like copying and pasting it so we're both on the same page, and it's just going to go deeper onto what the specific needs are, any of these questions, things like that. If you wanted to act like a mentor, if you wanted to act like a consultant with you, just tell it to ask you questions about how you're going to do it. Right. So, but it knows so much already about the HAL Foundation, and what they do with HBOT and anything else, can you ask me questions about our org so you know us best? Kirsten, I can't see the comments. If you see anything, if you just let me know, please.
Okay. Yes, I do have questions.
Okay. And there you go. Right. It's just going to just start going with it. I'm like, you know what? These are good. I can answer a lot of these questions and get information that's going to just fine tune this. And the more you feed it, again, we call it GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. I call it gold in, gold out. Like you put some really good stuff in, you're going to get some really good stuff out.
On that point,
yeah.
Tamara wants to know, how do you feed it more documents to go from?
Oh yeah, it's cool. So you just, if you're on the plan here, you can just you can connect your apps. Like I have my Microsoft and your OneDrive. You can add directly from your Google Drive if you connect your Google Drive, and you can just upload from your computer. So let's say you have, or you can tell it to go to a website if you have certain information in a particular website, right? So you just feed the monster is what I say.
And what do we not want to give what kind of information do we not want to be uploaded?
So I'll preface this. I use the paid version, and my team and I are on a Teams plan, because on the Teams plan, OpenAI will not learn or use whatever information I feed it for ourselves. So I'm comfortable feeding it, personal information, financials about the stuff that I'm working on, clients, anything that I do there. If you're on the free plan, which is fantastic, I think it gives you like 15 or 16 questions a day that are free. Be mindful that OpenAI will use your information or whatever you feed it to learn from it. Now, a 990, it's public information. Your website, it's a public information, right? So you're probably not going to want to do like HIPAA related stuff, like for those in the health aspect of things. And you're going to put, this client came in here and this, Maria did this and or how do I have this employee named so-and-so and I have to, how do I write them up? You're going to want to make it anonymous as much as you can if you're going to do that. But if you really have to use personalized stuff, I think, they just came out with the nonprofit discount, by the way, for OpenAI. I think it's now $20 a month. You have to apply through their website. I will give the link I'll put the link later.
Okay, great.
Yeah, they use a % to qualify you. You just put in your information, your EIN and things like that, and they'll approve you. And then it's like $20 a month for the high level plan on that.
One of the things we talked about last time was segmenting donors and analyzing your donor giving history and all of that. So obviously de-identifying that information is really important. You don't really want, depending on how you're using ChatGPT, you don't want to just up lists of donors.
Right. And on that, right, because 990 information is public. I mean, you could take another similar organization like you that's doing, not really competing with you, might be in a different state. You can ask ChatGPT to look through their 990 and tell me who their top 4 funders or 5 funders are. And
most of that's concealed though. Most of it's concealed. Yeah, there's a public version and a private version of the 990, and a lot of that gets blacked out.
Okay, I know on the foundation side it's public. So if you Google like a certain community foundation and say who are they giving to, you'll get information on who they give to.
Good point. Okay, of course, Lulis throws us the curveball because she always does. And
I've got AI on my side. There are no curveballs in my world, Kirsten.
That's why I'm on Team Danny. Can ChatGPT help find funders that will give to international organizations like us being a fundraising arm with all of our programs in Mexico?
Yeah. So again, it all comes down to
find out.
Yeah, AI is just this world of information, right? So let's say I am located in Mexico, right, Lulis? Mexico and looking.
Well, we are located here. Nonprofit is here, but we're a fundraising arm, so all our programs are in Mexico. So pretty much the funds will come here in the United States, and then we just send them to Mexico.
Okay. But our work is done in Mexico, and I'm looking for US funders that will fund our school education there.
Question, are you using a GPT that specializes in nonprofit?
I mean, I made it as simple as literally just pop it open and just ask it questions.
Okay.
And kind of go through there. So it's telling you potential US funders for Mexico, Kellogg Foundation, Huge Foundation, Ford Foundation, Gates, Inter-American, the Tinker Foundation. Look, it gave you 7, it's going on, and it's still going on from there. Right. So if I would feed it your website and just say, okay, here's my website, and now give me, you know, some LOIs or some ways of connecting with certain individuals, right? Like I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn. I learn everything that I do kind of on LinkedIn, and I follow some key people. But I would, you know, reach out and kind of be like, okay, these are the key organizations, right? Do I go to the MacArthur Foundation because I know they do Latin America? If I know they're funding Latin America, chances are they probably have not just one program officer, probably an entire team of program teams that's dedicated to LATAM, right? So find them on their website, do some research on them, find out who the person is, find out where they went to school, find out who they know. They're not going to hurt you for searching on LinkedIn and identifying it. And then you say, okay, oh, look, it's Mary Smith at the MacArthur Foundation that runs the Mexico operations for MacArthur. Great. You look at her on LinkedIn, you got some information. You goes back to GPT and say, here's her bio, here's her link, or you can download her information or just copy who Mary is and say, write me a really short direct message so I can just send her a hello, this is who I am. You know, do we talk? Do we interact? Is it even worth applying? Anything, right? To me, it's again, back to that level of comfort for you being comfortable, just putting the information out there, asking the right questions, and, you know, learning. Every no is an opportunity of why not. Maybe it's not a no for forever. It's just a no for right now. What do we have to do? How do we get in front of you? How do I best position ourselves to have a really good shot of partnering with you, Mary Smith at MacArthur, to really help our kids out in Mexico with what's going on? Let me learn from you, Mary. How's that, Lulis? I got Lulis smiling. If Lulis is smiling, or it's a good day.
Sounds good. Yeah, actually, some of those foundations I can totally so I saw them at the list that you provided last year from Kannico. So yeah, that's
I did
really
too.
good.
That makes me happy.
I know.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I know that one. I know that one.
Yeah.
But you know what, for the international side as well, I think what could be really interesting is if you did some research and understanding, you know, there's a lot of Latin Americans, you know, that live in the United States that are now professionals, you know, that they went to really good schools. Now they're, you know, in a higher ranking corporate office. LinkedIn will help you find them.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So if you don't know how to search on LinkedIn, guess what? You ask ChatGPT. How do I learn LinkedIn in a level of understanding how to find the right people? And before you know it, maybe you have some connections of there, people like, oh, I know that school, I know this organization, I know that town, I know that city, I know these people. And you kind of just start expanding it, right? And it's all about just, I keep saying, right, everyone has an amazing program, an amazing project that you're dealing with. If you're stuck, if you're idling, it's just that, you know, not enough people know how great you are and what you're doing. And so just there's your opportunity to just, you know, wave the flag and put it out there and say, hey, just FYI, this is who we are in case you're interested.
Sounds good.
Can you stop sharing screen for a second? I just put the poll up in case anyone has to leave. I know we're at the hour mark.
Time flies. Wow.
It goes by so quickly. So please do let me know what topics you would like us to cover. My fancy poll did not pull up, so I just created another one. And I didn't have time to ask ChatGPT why I messed up. So let's do one more. Do we want to do one more demo? One or two more demos? Does anyone have?
Tell me where we want to go.
Come on, let's make it hard for Danny. Give him something good. Give him a good one. This is so easy for him. Come on.
This will be one of my last videos before my clone steps in, and my video clone, and then you guys just interact with my video clone from now on, and I'll just lay on the beach somewhere.
Yeah, the scary part is we won't even know that it's not you.
You won't, no. And I'm not joking.
I know you're not joking.
It's close to coming out.
Okay, who has something? Give Danny come on. First of all, answer my poll. Tell me what topics you'd like.
Oh, someone asked a good question about, you know, how do we learn AI? Because there's so many tools. You ask it, Jackie. You just sit there and listen. Get your phone out, download. I mean, who has? I mean, show of hands or poll, like who's using the phone version of ChatGPT for free? I mean, okay, it's free. Like just download it, ChatGPT. We'll put it in the link as well. And it has a cool voice feature. You just hit the button and you just talk to it. Sometimes I'll go walk the dogs and just have a conversation with the AI, and just, hey, these are my thoughts. This is what I'm going through. This is, like some stuff that I want to, I'm working on this. I'm working on it right now. I was telling Kirsten yesterday, I'm working on this new concept called quantum philanthropy. It's about the interconnectedness of what we are and kind of shifting philanthropy into a different world. Guess who's helping me? AI. Right? Because I can dream it and I can be like, hey, that's kind of interesting. Let's go deeper on that. But the AI can help you. So Jackie, my answer is just start with the app and just say, hey, listen, I have zero clue how to do this. This is how old I am. This is, my main language. This is what I work on. Can you give me some really easy pointers on just how to start?
Yep. Love that.
Right.
All right. Who wants?
Well, Arlene, that's our goal. Listen, our goal is to get everyone just dipping your toes into the pond of
just
AI.
try it. Try it. You'll get hooked. And then you'll realize how fast you can go. Oof, and how efficient you can be. And still keep your own flavor for things. I mean, Eduardo was in an all-day training that I did last Friday at the Miramar Pembroke Pines Chamber at Kaiser University. And all of my slides were created by AI. My content was reviewed by AI, supplemented by AI. But like I tell Danny, it's still me. I'm the one. It's me. I have the stories. I have the
passion,
the personality behind it. And I would never dream of creating something and passing it off as my own that I just literally got from ChatGPT. Sorry, but the fact that the resources are there, the tools are there to make your life so much easier, really.
Yeah.
So what else can we ask Danny to work on for us?
I also want to add another thing, which is, I think, our level of responsibility for sharing AI with the people and the clients that we serve, right? So I predominantly live in South America, and AI is not really as big as it is in the US in any kind of way. And that scares me a lot because I'm like, people are going to be out of jobs here in many ways, right? So I have a clone. I have my own clone that people can interact with. And I don't really just do it for the sake of like, look at me with my own, clone that you can ask it all these questions. I do it because people like literally look at me and their mouth drops and they're like, wait, how do you do that? And I'm like, see, it's just anything is possible. Right. And just giving them that chance, or they're interacting with it and asking any questions and kind of learning from it. It's all about just like go back to the levels of comfort, removing ignorance, just getting people to be like, wow, what is possible? What can I do? How do I learn? And then to your question, Jackie, like, how do I start? We just ask the AI. How do I start? What do I do? And just, listen to it as you kind of.
I told her to go to our website, to the Kannico website, and watch your great introductory GPT.
Oh yeah, I think we probably have to do another one because things change so fast and are getting so much better.
That's
that
true.
We have to update that one. That's probably like 2 months old,
Yep.
and it's ancient in AI terms.
I know.
So
well, listen, I don't want to
comments,
keep you guys. It's it's dinner time for a lot of people, but if you would like for Danny to do any more testing, playing around, please.
Let's call it office hours. Like, I'm here, like take advantage that I'm here on this, and let's play around with whatever
What are you
want.
struggling with? Yeah. Does anyone
Did you have something, Jackie? I saw you raise your hand. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, tell me.
I have to tell you, this is like the best webinar I have been on, like in probably the last 3 months.
And you're at the beach, so that says a lot. You're hanging out by the beach with the palm trees.
Chilling at the beach, I know. So I'm working with a group that wants to bring a hotline for people who use abuse. There are lots of hotlines and crisis lines for people who are being abused, and not that many for people who are using abuse, who are wanting to change their behaviors. So I need to find funding that will fund something that is not based on probation, not based on like court mandated monies, but also that will fund a statewide hotline and fund operation, admin.
Or
not just
so
the service, but core operator. Already? There is an existing organization. The hotline already exists in California. However, needing to find funding that is very specific to not so much for the hotline itself, but for the people behind the hotline who are doing like the admin
like the
work,
operators, like the
core operating
social
support.
workers, and kind of underwriting that. Okay. I think my first question is going to be is, can AI play a role? And so the issue with AI in the US right now is kind of the HIPAA situation of things, right? So in Latin America, we're actually working on creating clones that can actually help the community and help answer a lot of these questions. There's not as many as the HIPAA regulations as the US side, right? But I think if you can get to a place where, number one is, what do you think the budget's going to be for something like that? Are we talking millions of dollars? Is it going to be state money, federal money? Because it's just that complex. Have you analyzed that aspect yet?
There is state and federal money is available. However, the organization does not have the infrastructure to be able to successfully apply for that kind of funding. So we are looking at non-traditional partners like philanthropy, foundations, and also there are small grants. Like I have found some banks that are doing some like core operating support. I found some mental health foundations that are doing some small like core operating support. So that's the analysis that I have.
Yeah. So what I would tell you to do is, it's really about writing all this down and having, a couple of files or folders full of files about what the story is of the organization right now. Like, this is who we are. This is what we do. This is our experience. Right. This is our board, right? And I think boards are very important, right? So like one feature on LinkedIn is you can actually download a PDF of someone's profile. I find that very valuable in terms of adding. So when I call it like, creating a data lake or creating a folder of which is going to be all these different files, all this information, the story of the organization. Like what you're really talking about is a really powerful case for support in many ways, and then kind of expanding that into, bigger and bigger projects, and then identifying the organization, like the problem that you're trying to address, right? And what avenues and opportunities exist that you may not be aware of in terms of that, right? So for example, like right off the top of my bat, I'm going to reach out to you and I'm going to introduce you to one of my dear friends, Jesse Leon, who's a TED speaker. Do you know Jesse at all? He's in San Diego. He's a TED talker. He's a victim. He's a victim of abuse himself and kind of everything he went through. Now he's on a national platform. He wrote a book, I'm Not Broken. He's doing all these great things. You need advocacy. You need influencers. You need people around you to kind of get the message out there by saying, if you invest $1 into a program that's preventative, can we save X amount of dollars in terms of how much other else is going to come out of it? So when you can take all these stories and kind of put it into the AI and just chat GPT and say, can you help me create a plan or a path towards where I need to go to? Right. And it might not be right away. It might not be applying for all these grants right now. It might be some sort of GoFundMe campaign. Simply, it might be a Facebook campaign. It might be all these different tools. The good thing is if you ask ChatGPT to give you all the ideas, then it's all about going deeper. So if ChatGPT says, yeah, listen, I think a Facebook campaign may work out. I have no idea how to do a Facebook campaign. Guess what? Ask it, right? How do I do a Facebook campaign for a nonprofit trying to do X? And that's where you kind of just go high level. So I call it like you want to outline the chapters of the book, right? There's a journey. It's like the hero's journey, right? Like your goal with this organization, to me, Jackie, is I want this hotline to one day shut down. I want this hotline to no longer have to exist because we helped heal enough hearts and enough people that they got their answers and they got their solutions, and we have enough support around them that they're no longer becoming predators or doing what they're doing to the community. Right. And when you can share that and kind of explain like that, it's a book, it's a journey. The how-to guide to putting this organization out of business for dummies or whatever it's called. And you're going to ask ChatGPT like, hey, give me the steps that we're going to take us to get there. Hey, you know what? It's going to cost $150 million in the next 10 years to get there. Great. I have a plan. What's it going to take? Right. But if you can define that, no matter how small the organization is, this is where it's all about collaboration, right? This is about other organizations, other state agencies, other funders, other people, other donors coming together and saying they're onto something, they're doing something. How do we help fine tune that? Right. But I think if you can create that path, if you can create that book, right, it might just be like chapter 1. It's like stating who we are. Great. How deep do we go on that? We can go really deep on that. Right. Step 2, our possible solution. How deep do we want to go on that? So just start creating kind of the outline, and then you can just go deeper and deeper into each one of those sections. And the more you have there, the better the story is to allow those that are going to, you can't do it alone. You're not going to do it alone. Right. So this is the greatest story no one's heard of yet.
Yep.
Right.
So you kind of start it like that.
Okay.
I love that, by the way, that approach.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's much more interesting than
Mhm.
just filling out a grant application.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it really comes, and listen, I go back to this. The future of where we are with AI is for every organization, every person to be able to give it your breadth of knowledge, your idea, your so if you think about ChatGPT for a second, it just has the internet. Literally, it has the internet. It has everything you need to know, but it doesn't know Jackie. It doesn't know the organization as well as you do. It doesn't know the key board members. It doesn't know the opportunities, but you have that. So the better you can actually put that book together, then you can use AI to ask it questions based on that information. And that's what's going to be really, really, really valuable going forward. It's going to be collecting your autobiography, your biography, the story of you, the story of the organization, and then from there use AI to expand on that and grow on that.
I love it.
And you could do it from the
You all
beach,
are
Jackie. You don't have to go
fantastic.
anywhere. You
Thank
can
you.
stay right where you are, back
I know.
Jackie, at the beach.
I'm going to go back to my ceviche and my my cerveza and chill out. Thank you. That was great.
Yeah.
Well, we love doing this. We just feel like everybody deserves access to all of this information and all of this knowledge, and we have fun. We have fun with it. We have fun learning ourselves. It keeps us fresh and edgy with the work that we do. So wish I had a way that I could ask you all for a review, but anyway.
Yeah. And if you're still on,
Email
either
me.
you fell asleep and we're so boring and you just forgot that we're on, or you're
That's
too
fine,
shy
too.
and don't want to say anything. So please, I love doing this. Like, you guys have no idea how much I love doing this. I speak
I
to
think we
robots
should
all
do
day.
another pop-up lunch and learn, because a lot of people were able to get to us at lunchtime, and
Yeah.
AI piece, even if we just did like 30 or 45 minutes on the latest things that, why not,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
next week,
And by
guys.
the way, we
Keep
didn't
an
talk
eye
about
out
this
for
because I know some Spanish people on I mean, just ask it in Spanish. Tell it you wanted to customize in whatever language you can, and
I have
it'll.
it translated in so many different languages, everything that I do now. I mean, yeah, not so many because there aren't that many that I'm working with, but I do translate a lot now. Yeah. Yeah.
You're both priceless. We cannot thank you enough. You guys
Aw.
are wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. It's our pleasure. I'm just so glad you joined, Eduardo. We're here every month and in between too.
You just, I'm not sure, blown away.
Hey, we are going to transform the landscape across the country. Let's put across the world.
Yeah. And for those that don't know me, so I have a background in philanthropy as well, and I serve on the board of a major foundation. I've probably been involved in probably over $100 million in grant making the last decade alone. And the problems are bigger than ever. And I don't think we're going to solve it the way we've been doing things before. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like grants. I don't like the way this system works. I was telling Kirsten today, it's sad that the if you look at both sectors, the haves and the haves not, like philanthropy has all this money, nonprofits really don't. You're putting the onus and the weight on the shoulders of nonprofits to do the research. I was laughing earlier, like, you have to put the makeup on, you have to look pretty, you have to be selectable, you have to stand out a little more. And I'm like, why? All because foundations just don't know about you yet.
Yep.
Right. But that's going to change when the more people start interacting with AI, the more, people start, doing this. Yeah, Jackie, there's got to be a new, we have it's quantum philanthropy. That's why I'm writing the book right now. It's what it is. It's all about the oneness of understanding that we can have all this information. I have the data already. Foundations should just look at it and say, you know what, this is exactly where we need to invest. Can I get 20 other organizations and donors and we make this $100 million so we can actually end this problem? Right? My number one question to organizations is, how do I help put you out of business? What does that mean? I don't want to go out of business. Well, you should. You should.
Yeah.
If you're in the nonprofit space, you should try to go out of business. Not everybody, right? Not the YMCA, not the Kiwanis or the Rotaries. You're doing great stuff, right? But the ones that are dealing with what you just talked about and like sexual abuse and all these different things, heck yeah, I want to put you out of business. Let's create a plan.
Food insecurity.
Yeah. What's it going to cost?
Yeah.
What's it going to cost?
Oh my gosh, Jackie wants to pre-order your book. Okay, I'm number 2 in line. It's true though. And
I just want to nerd out with you.
All right.
Yeah, I just want to nerd out with you about that idea.
TED Talk. Oh yeah, TED Talk. That's a great
Jackie, we
idea.
go to a lot of conferences. Kristen and I will be at Hispanics in Philanthropy in Chicago in 10 days. So if you ever get out, we go to most of the bigger conferences, we go out there and just, spread the message, spread the love.
Yep. It's all, that power dynamic with funders. I'm not a fan. I mean, trust-based philanthropy was great, but now Danny's taken it to a whole new level with quantum philanthropy, and he's absolutely right, so, and the thing is, we have to be bold enough to have these conversations. And, it really is up to us, because it's the system is going to keep doing what it's been doing. So we have to shake things up. And that's what Danny does when he goes to all these conferences. I just sit back and watch, because he is just stirring the pot. I love it. Yeah.
Well, I've been on the other side, right? And I've been privileged to be on that, golden throne of, handing money out and then realizing, who's holding philanthropy accountable. Yes, people made money and they're giving it away, but do nonprofits really have a voice? Can they be critical? Can they say you're not doing it right without having repercussions of not being funded later on? Not really.
Yeah.
Especially in the minority, especially in the Latino, the Black voice, the Asian voice, where, they just don't have that kind of power. So, and I thought it was going to take a lot of time. And now with AI, I'm like, it's not really going to take that much time. It's not. It's all about, bringing people together and collaborating for impact.
Yep. So let's do it.
He's a fellow pot stirrer.
Good for you. Good for you.
We're Latino, so we don't just stir. We bang on the pots. Like we make noise.
Well, thanks everyone.
Don't ever change.
Great session as usual. Good to see everyone. Thank you.